Welcome back, everyone. Thank you again for tuning into the Transform Your Birth podcast. And with me today is lovely Ebony, and her little boy is 2. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, just about a couple of weeks away.
A
Yeah.
couple of weeks from being 2. So she's a couple of years out of the birthing space, but she reached out to me and she was really happy to share her story. And yeah, I'm really keen to bring this to you today. So thanks, Ebony, for coming.
My pleasure. Any excuse to talk to you.
Oh, thanks, darling. We're
Yeah.
mates now. So this is what happens with my beautiful mothers. I end up falling in love with them. And,
Yeah.
I'm like a mother hen with all her daughters.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Ebony's definitely one of those. So tell me, Ebony, how are you feeling about the idea of giving birth? And then we'll talk about the preparation that you did.
Sure. So I was super, super nervous, very anxious, and yeah, just a bit fearful, I guess, because it was unknown.
Right.
Yeah.
Had other people put that sort of stuff on you, or where do you think you got it from?
I think for me, it was just a learned thing of like I guess we'll get to that, but what I learnt through the experience was to trust my body. But before that, I didn't really know what the body was capable of.
Right.
So because I was so yeah, so unsure of what to expect. And like I had little things in my head like, oh, will it hurt? Like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I was just a bit fearful of that. And then yeah, if, what if this, what if that? So anxious thoughts about it or an anxious feeling, I guess I had,
Yeah.
probably until, yeah, I met you and did your course actually.
Yeah. Well, tell
Yeah.
us about the preparation that you did and what made the difference for you.
Yeah. So my partner, Chris, and I did your course. I think we were 30 weeks pregnant with our son, Luke, at that stage. And yeah, we just did everything you recommended in the course. So in the lead up to giving birth, I was listening to the recordings and things. So we did your course, obviously, the 2-day weekend course. That was our
Mhm.
major preparation. And then in the lead up, I was doing every day, every night, one of the guided um, meditations or guided audios that you had with that.
Yeah.
And then I did the birth rehearsals a couple of times as well. So I just all the advice you gave, I took it on and I did that. Um, and it
What
helped.
changes did you notice when you did that?
Yeah, I was going to say it helps shift those feelings.
Mm.
So like I was saying, I was quite anxious and nervous about the process because it was so unknown. But after doing the course and doing the meditations and everything, I just started to feel more acceptance, I think, of
Mm.
those emotions and what was coming up. So it allowed me to calm and relax in my body. And I think um, something that stuck in your course as well was just the power of, I guess, your intention and when you're thinking and feeling things. So I remember in the course, my son was transverse, so
Right.
he was like that up until 30 weeks. And then I remember you saying something in the course about when we feel the little kicks, um, really feel them and just you know, like there was something you said about feeling the kicks and being grateful and just something beautiful you said. I can't remember exactly what it was because it was a couple of years ago now, but it's
Mm.
always stuck in my mind that I started instead of worrying all the time that, oh, what's going to happen? Like, is everything okay? What's going to happen with the birth? Like, just being anxious in general.
Yeah.
I really listened to that and I went, oh, so every time he kicked, I was like, oh, and I just told him I loved him and put my hand on my belly. And then within 2 days after your course, we had our checkup with a midwife and he'd gone head down. So I truly believe that just my calming in my body and feeling
Mm.
safer within my body and what it was capable of and diffusing some of those feelings I was having made the baby feel safer. So
Yeah.
he felt okay to move down and get into his little position as well, as opposed to maybe because I was feeling so anxious and nervous all the time. I
Yeah.
do wonder sometimes if that had a little bit of an effect on the way he was positioned and not wanting to go head down. So I've just found that a really fascinating aspect of the journey. And
Yeah.
it just made me realize, oh my gosh, like I'm talking to him, telling him I love him. He's obviously hearing that and feeling it. And it just made me feel so much more calm and accepting and knowing of like our bodies are so powerful, like what they can do even before the birth process, like what it's doing was amazing. And I just slowly started to turn it to more of a, yeah, like I still had a little bit of nerves there, which I think is probably normal, but
Yeah.
it was nowhere near like what it was before after doing
Yeah.
your course. Yeah.
You've described there a real mindset shift, Ebony.
Yeah.
That we don't appreciate the power of the mind and its influence on the body.
Mm,
And so how you think about birth is going to influence how your body responds to birth.
mm,
And so if you've got a mindset full of other people's stories and horror stories, or even just the idea of, oh, what's going to happen? And you're focusing on things that are not constructive, you tend
mm,
to focus on things that are destructive. Just the ability to flip that mindset through understanding the process and understanding how your body's wired to do it, like the fact that it's actually coded into your body. It's not something you need to do. Birth
mm,
is something that you don't make happen, you simply allow it to happen. And that little shift, that tweak through getting that new information and then starting to appreciate on what's actually important. I don't know what it was that I said to you, but one of the things that I do say to people often is every kick, every moment that you feel that little one in you, you know, that that's precious. It's precious and it's a period of time that's going to change. And when they land and they
mm.
develop really quickly, and to really have an appreciation for the miracle that's going on inside of you. And so, for those people listening, how you frame your experience of birth, particularly if you're sick and you've had periods of your pregnancy that have been painful and really hard. If you can bring yourself back to that foundation of gratitude for the miracle that's emerging inside of you, I think that's beautiful and powerful in how that little shift in your mindset even changed your experience of pregnancy like that, and potentially his position. I'd put money on that too.
Yeah, I felt it really did. And I just popped
Yeah.
in my head while you were talking as well. I think my fears came from, to be honest, like movies, like, because that's all I'd
Right.
really had my experience with of,
Bloody movies.
I know.
I get the
And my,
shits when I see a bloody
they're so
birth
silly.
scene. They annoy me no end.
Yeah. So it was mostly that. I never really had spoken to many like people before about their birth experience until I gave birth.
Mm,
I'd heard
mm,
my mum's story from my little brother,
yeah,
um, which was yeah, a bit like it was like a difficult one for her at the time. So maybe a little bit of that too.
yeah.
But yeah, it was mostly I think the damn movies.
Mm, yeah, which can give us a really distorted view of birth,
Yeah.
because movies and any type of video content, their intention is not to educate you, it's to entertain you.
Mm,
And so they've got to create hooks and drama and things that will get your attention, but it can really shift and distort the way that we see childbirth. So, what
mm.
other sort of little changes did you notice in your mindset as a result of going through the Transform Your Birth course, or any good course like this, which can start to shift our thinking? What else did you notice?
I think the main thing I noticed was just the amount of like acceptance and the support as well, like knowing, oh, there's people out there. And like at the time, obviously, I was like, oh, Tracy's like, yeah, this angel that's just like, we've gone through her course. And we both felt that. And we were like, oh, it just made us feel more comfortable about the process.
Mm,
So, not knowing anything about giving birth or anything like that, it was like, oh, there's so many other people in the room going through the same thing as you as well, actually. So it was
yeah,
like there's a comfort in that. So I think it was yeah, just feeling more comfortable in my body and that oh, I can do this. Like and if there's little things that happen along the way that like you can't plan your birth, obviously you can to an
mm,
extent. But like if little things happened, I was prepared to know that okay, we know, you know, how we need to be in our state of mind and our bodies to be calm, still, and peaceful and accepting of the process. So it's still the best outcome possible
yeah.
for all of us. Like, so it was just, yeah, that comfort and that knowing, it was almost like, yeah, knowing that everything was going to be okay because I had such big fears. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell us, Ebony, how did it unfold?
Okay. So I was induced in the end, so our little boy was not budging. Um, yeah, I think I can't remember the exact weeks and days, but I think it was like 40 plus 6 or something like that. So he didn't want to come out, and we got a little bit of help. And I remember also we spoke to you at the time, and that really helped us to prepare for that induction process.
Mm.
And yeah, we um, yeah, went to the hospital and we were in there for, I think it was like 4 or 5 days. So I remember going in and we had our midwife there, which was awesome. And all the midwives and nurses there were amazing. Um, and yeah, this was at Canberra Hospital. And we were in the midwifery program there, the continuing care program, but because I was induced, we couldn't give birth in the suite. So we were in the actual ward, which was still fine. They were all amazing. So we
Yeah.
got
And
in.
you still had your midwife though with you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we got there and I just remember, yeah, they did what they do to because I wasn't like dilated at all much. So they did their thing to dilate my cervix. And I
Hmm.
think that was about 12, must have been 12 hours from memory. So we were just in a room, Chris and I, just hanging out. Um, I was pretty tired because I couldn't sleep properly, like at the hospital. And then yeah, the next day they were like checked how everything was going, and I think I still needed a little bit more time. But then, yeah, when the doctors came in and checked, they were like, "Nope, she's all good. We can break her waters," and they did that, and um, yeah, then we started the induction. So the midwife, my midwife was at home at the time. She was there for the start, but because first labor, they thought it might be quite a lengthy process. She was at home at the time. So I had
Okay.
another midwife that I had met before as well. So she was there supporting through the process. And yeah, I just remember you saying as well about accepting the process too of an induction
Mm.
because I was also then nervous a bit about that because that was another unknown. But
Yeah.
but it was fine. We just accepted that's where we had to go to get the
Mm.
help.
Yeah.
And
I just want to come in there, Ebony.
yeah.
When you're facing, well, for starters, when it comes to induction, you want to make sure you're doing it for a very good reason. Okay,
Yeah.
there's way too many inductions happening, particularly for first-time mothers, and there are risks with induction.
Mm.
They often, might suggest an induction for advanced maternal age or high BMI or gestational diabetes, even if it's managed, or big babies or um, over 41 weeks. um, these are all IVF conceptions, advanced maternal age. These are all box ticking exercises of the assessment of risk. And even though there is a shift in the risk profile with some of those conditions, it doesn't mean that induction is the best way forward for this particular pregnancy because you've got to match that risk with the risk of induction. And bringing babies on at 38 weeks could be 4 weeks early for that baby. So there's risks for the baby as well and risks for the mother as well. And so you always want to ask the question, what are the risks of induction? And
Mm.
weigh that up, but also to put that idea of the risk profile right next to what's actually happening in this pregnancy. Are there signs that baby needs to come now? So it's not something you want to walk in with. But if you do go down the path of induction, there's a few things that you can that I often coach people to do. In fact, I've got an episode around induction, so have a look at it. There's a few things that you can do and ask for that can support the safety and the well-being of that induction. And one of the things that I often say to women who are having an induction, when you go in with the mindset, this is coming back to mindset again, that everything you're accepting into your body is here to help your baby get here safely.
Yeah, I
So you
remember
don't want to, yeah, you don't want to go into an induction going, oh, I really don't want this. Oh gosh, it's going to be awful. And I've heard terrible stories about inductions, and they're other people's journeys, not yours. You want to welcome everything into your body and say, thank you for getting my baby here safely, and really get your head on board with it, because to resist it is only going to be telling your body that you're not safe it's going to create a stress response, and it's going to make it a lot harder. So getting your mind in the game, did that really shift it for you, Ebony? How did that
It did, because I
mm,
remember now it's bringing back memories when I had the balloon. Now I remember what it was. The balloon put in, like, it's not the
yeah.
most comfortable thing, right? But I was like, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
balloon.
for helping me. Everything they were doing, I was doing that. And it made it
Yeah,
so much easier. Because if I had
yeah,
have resisted and been like, like, it would have,
yeah,
um, it wouldn't have been as, like, it wouldn't have flowed
yeah.
like it did, I don't feel.
So you're able to maintain that as with each step. What about waters
Yeah.
breaking? Them
Pardon.
breaking your water. What about them breaking your waters?
Yeah, that was fine. I think Chris was more shocked at that one than me because he saw everything. So he was like, oh, wow.
Having a good look, was he?
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it was, yeah, the whole process I did that. And then interestingly, so the labor started, like I felt the contractions come as soon as they broke my waters, actually. They were
Hmm.
very faint because I'd been having a couple at home, but they would only last for a second and go away. Like it was doing that for weeks. But
Right.
yeah, in the end, I had the synthetic oxytocin. Is that how you
Yep.
say? Yeah.
Syntocinon. Yep, but it
Yeah.
is.
And
It's synthetic oxytocin. Yep.
I'm really, really glad in hindsight, I listened to the midwife and Chris about that because I had a bit of resistance at that point
Hmm.
because I'd felt a couple of contractions. I was like, oh, do I really need this? Like, what if my body wants to just naturally, and it's a bit longer, but what if it wants to labor now, just having my waters broke? But I'm so glad I made the choice to have that because it was very, very weak. Like it wasn't a strong amount that I was having, but it just sped up
Mm.
that labor a little bit. I remember, I think it was 7 hours in total, but it was interesting having done your course. I remember at one point the midwife, like Chris was doing all the things, like all the things he learnt in the course. I still remember that point where I did say, oh, I want to have some drugs. And he was like, hey, honey, let's go have some water. We'll go to the toilet. And then a few days later, I realized I was like, oh,
Oh,
he
you
did
you
the
you
thing.
did those tricks on me.
Yeah. At the time, I had no clue. But then a
Yeah.
few days later, I was like, oh, you did them and they worked. But yeah, I didn't have anything. So it was a natural labor,
Yeah. I
which
have a
I'm,
little trick for
yeah.
Dad. Sorry to cut you off there,
No,
Ebony,
no,
but
you're right.
it's worth sharing.
Yeah.
I often say to the dads, okay, here's the scenario. Prior to the labor, she said she doesn't want drugs. And then
Yeah.
during the labor, she looks at you with a demon eyes.
That
And
was
now
me.
she wants them. What do you do? And we have a bit of a chat about it. And I give them a bit of a strategy around how to deal with that because you're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Sounds like he did the tips and tricks and got you over the hump, did he?
He did.
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
fine. Like it's just that distraction. It was all I needed in the
Yeah.
moment, now that I reflect on it. And also something interestingly, before we had birth, the only thing I'd really planned and said was I want to try water birth. But about 2 weeks before, I felt something in my intuition go, oh, I'm not going to like it on the day. And
Ah,
I got
isn't
in
that
the water.
interesting?
I was like, I asked the midwife, I was like, can I get in? She goes, yeah, yeah. Because I had a like the heartbeat monitor around my belly.
Right.
Um, so she was like, "Yeah, you can still get in with it. Just make sure, she told me how to get in properly." And then as soon as I got in, it just sped everything up, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! I gotta get out of the water." I didn't like it at all because it just my body started really going into labor like quite
Yeah,
quickly, and I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, that was too fast." So I did get out. So my intuition knew something a couple of weeks before, but I just
Ah,
yeah,
sorry,
no,
you're
it's
bringing
okay.
up some great stuff here. I've just spent the morning with my new mothers and we did birthday briefing today. And there were so many stories I heard where women knew, like one woman said, um, oh, you're going to be in labor for a long time. And in her intuition, she got, no, actually, I'm not going to be in labor for a long time. And she was right.
Yeah.
And so women often get little hits like that around um, or from a deep inner intelligence that we all have access to if we listen. And that's a real intuitive hit that you've had there. And it's quite common, particularly in labor, because we are a little bit more out of the cortex layer of our brain and much more into the deeper parts of ourselves. It's
Yeah.
what we're designed to do as new mothers, is to be able to attune to our babies. So our intuition goes up. And I think that's really interesting. There was so many different stories around that this morning that I listened to. It's very common. So any
Okay,
little
it's
intuitive
fascinating.
hits you get curious and be amused and tuck it away and see what happens. Chances are you'll be spot on.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, I gotta get out of the water.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, yeah, we were in the room and midwife was there and Chris was doing all the things like rubbing my back and um, I was just focusing on my breath.
Yeah.
Um, and at one point, the midwife said, "Oh, like, what's your discomfort or what's your pain?" I think they refer to it as a pain level out of 10. So
Mm,
I was like, "Oh, it's probably about like a 6 or a 7." And she was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Oh," like she just, I think because of the way I was presenting was not what
mm.
they would have expected someone to be feeling that level of intensity at because I was so calm.
Yeah.
Um, which I found was interesting. But then,
Yeah,
yeah, I
it's
just
one
remember.
of the, if there ever there was a disadvantage for doing my program and programs like hypnobirthing and calm birth, it's that very thing. When you're harnessing the mind like that, you're traveling the path of least resistance. You've worked with your fears, you've unloaded the subconscious system. You don't always present in the same way in labor. You can actually be looking very calm and be very close to the end. Not
Yeah.
always, but
Yep,
it's quite a common thing. And so you get a bit tricky and not easy to read in labor. So she must have been a bit curious about that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I remember that. And then I do remember saying to Chris at one point, I felt in my body, I don't know what it was. I said, something's not quite right. And he was like, okay. Like he just held space for what I said. Um, and then after about half an hour, like they came to check me a bit more frequently, the heart rate monitor. And every time I was having a contraction, Bub's heart rate was dropping. So there was something going on there. So they were onto it straight away. And interesting that I had no clue, but I just said to Chris, I think something's not quite right. Um, and yeah, shortly after that sort of unfolded. But yeah, we ended up having quite a few doctors in the room. They were amazing though. They were just checking that Bub was okay. And then we used a little scalp monitor was put
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, like it happened pretty quickly after that. Like I think 20 minutes probably from me laying down because I actually felt most comfortable on my back. I tried other positions, but I was like, no, my back was the most comfortable. And
There you
um,
go.
yeah.
You never know until the day. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then yeah, little guy came out. My midwife got there in time as well, which was awesome because oh that's right. Before this happened, she asked me again at one point. She was like, "What's your like pain discomfort level now?" And I was like, "Oh, it'd be about a 9." And she was like, "Oh," so I could see her on the phone to my midwife going, "I think you better hightail it here." So she got there in time, which was good. So she delivered my baby with the doctors and Chris helping. But yeah, he had the cord wrapped around his neck. So that explains why when I was contracting,
Yeah.
his heart rate was dropping. So they took it off. Like they're amazing. They just know what they're doing. They whipped it off
Yeah.
straight away and put him on me. And it was the most amazing feeling I've ever experienced in my whole life. Like just thinking about it now makes me a bit emotional. And also just that euphoric feeling I had
Mm.
holding
Yeah.
him for the first time and seeing his little eyes, like you said they would, like scan the room to find your eyes and your connection. And
Yeah.
then he just locked into both of us and they were like, "Can we do the checks?" And I asked, "Can you check him on me?" And they were like, "Yeah, it's fine." Like they were awesome. And they checked him on me and he was all good. So that was the main thing. So glad and grateful for all of them and you because I think if I had not have both of us being first time in a birth situation had not done your course and had that happening, you would start
Mm.
to worry and stress a bit like what's going on here? Like there's a lot of people in the room, they're checking me all the time, like what's happening? But we were both just like, surrendered to the process. We were like, we know we're in good hands and everything's okay. And um just followed our intuition and just breathed through the process and still stayed very calm. And yeah, it proves actually, I don't think I've ever told you this, but we took Luke to a baby osteo, phenomenal guy, Maxwell, his name is in Phillip. when he was maybe um he must have been like 6 or 8 weeks old. And they ask about like the birth experience and stuff before they see you. And
Yeah.
I'd sort of written what happened. And when he was checking him, he was like, oh, for that kind of birth experience, his head and everything, like there was a very limited amount of strain or stress in his little body. So I think, and I just said, yeah, well, we met this amazing lady. We did this amazing course and we were very calm and I was super calm, like, and just, I said, I think that helped. And they were like, yeah. So it was, yeah, that was interesting as well to see that his little body could have been quite stressed out because of that, like quite quickly coming out and then having, a few little stresses himself, but his body wasn't showing those signs. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really curious about how you knew something wasn't quite right. Can you go back to that
Yeah.
moment?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something in that second, I said to Chris, something's not right. I think something in my intuition, I was just like, something is not right. And I couldn't put my finger on it at the time. And I just said it
Mm.
like, and he was like, "Oh, okay, because everything seemed okay." But in that moment, there was something as well with when I was having contractions, my legs were a bit shaky.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a physical indication for me that, oh, okay, I wonder if this is something that happens. But I think that was probably just the hormone because I'm quite sensitive as a
Mm.
person.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I honestly don't know. I just something told me.
Mm.
And then not long after, was when they came to start checking what was happening. Yeah. Yeah. I have
Well,
no idea. Yeah.
once again, I think what the theme of this story is very much around mindset, but
Mm,
also around the ability when we're not scared to, and we're in the zone and we're in labor land and we've taken our cortex offline, which is the thinking rational brain, we have access to a level of intelligence and wisdom and intuition that is easier to access at that time than at any other time. I had a midwife once, my very first midwife, who was an incredibly experienced midwife and had amazing stats in terms of low levels of intervention and transfers from home to hospital and things. And she used to say that the women know. They don't know that they know, but when you ask them, they know.
mm,
And her whole practice was based on ask the woman, ask the woman, ask the woman. And she'll
yeah.
give you some different insights about what she thinks or senses might go on. And sometimes things come out of women's mouth that they go, I don't know where that came from. But it's a
Yeah,
deeper
that was that.
intelligence. Yeah, it's a deeper intelligence. And I just want to, you know, highlight that, particularly for those birth workers and the birth nerds, I call you, that listen to this podcast. It's always a good thing to remember. Ask the woman.
Mm,
Even if she says, I don't know, then go a little bit deeper. But if you did know, what's your sense of what it could be or whatever it is you want to find out about?
mm.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. Yeah, I
Mm.
still have no answer to that one.
Yeah, yeah. But this, and it's funny, it's coming up in this podcast because it really came up a lot in the birth debriefing we did this morning
Okay.
in a group situation with new mums, of just even mothers who were giving themselves a hard time about things not going a certain way or the way they responded wasn't the way that they thought. But when I tuned them in to what was actually going on, they actually knew.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's a very important part of this story. What did you learn about yourself, Ebony?
I was so proud of myself.
Mhm.
I remember saying that when I got back to the room because I had a small procedure after I gave birth.
Yeah.
And I came back in and I was like, I'm so proud of myself. My
Yeah.
midwife and Chris were like, we're so proud of you too. I just felt like our body, I learned about myself was that, yeah, I think my body like is phenomenal, like what
Mm.
it did.
Yeah.
Housed, grew, birthed a baby. Um, and I also think I learned that I can like surrender, like because I've often in life, gotten a little bit anxious here and there, and just learning that. I can actually do new things and it doesn't have to be hard. That's probably
Mm.
the biggest thing I learned, actually. And I think we are a lot of the time programmed, especially with birth, like you said, watching movies and silly things like that, that show you, oh, it's a hard, like painful process. Whereas, oh, I didn't say this. I did not feel pain through my whole
Mhm.
birth and labor experience, not one bit of pain. I wouldn't ever describe it as that I was in pain. It
What
was
would you
intense.
describe it at?
It was intensity,
Yeah.
um, but it was not painful. Yeah, yeah. I've always felt that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think I learnt, yeah, just that new things don't have to be hard, and taking advice, and following through on that advice as well will help in situations. So some people might go and do a course and then forget to do some of the prep, or not do it or whatever, but I did it and followed it to the letter, and it showed in
Mm.
the process of giving birth to Luke like how much that helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When you look back at that, how much of your ability to surrender to the sensations, which weren't painful for you, how
Mm.
much do you think that was influenced by the practices?
Oh, the whole thing. Because I can
Yeah.
see in my mind how if I'd not done them, I could have referred that feeling to pain, if that
Right.
makes sense. But I
Okay.
chose not to. I was like, this is not pain. It's actually my body doing what it needs to do to birth my baby. So it was an intense feeling, but
Mm.
not, yeah, I didn't reference it to pain. And in fact, I do remember, I know you showed the stages of the levels of birth,
Mm.
and what they can feel like. And I was almost at the most ultimate one when I was giving birth. So it was like not at the, like none of it was painful. Yeah, it was just intense. Yeah.
And how did that influence your parenting, your experience of early parenting?
Um, I think just going with the flow. Like I've found as a person, I've always been quite maternal, and I've wanted a baby since I was a baby, I think, because I used to play
Mm.
with my little dolls and stuff all the time and wish I was a mum.
Yeah.
So it sort of came quite naturally to me, being a mum. But I think doing all of that and going through that experience showed me that if I have compassion for myself, and softness with myself, and don't judge like things as painful or hard, um, that transfers to the parenting a bit too. So you can have, we all know you have challenging moments when you're a parent,
Mm.
and they can be hard. But if you see that as painful, like giving birth, it's going to be really hard on you to go through that. Whereas I have experiences with my son where I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting, or this is a bit challenging, but I'm softer with myself, even if I have to be, a little bit more clearer with him about like things and stuff like that. I'm
Mm.
still softer inside as a result. So I think
Mm.
it comes through in the way I parent him as well, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, it does. Absolutely. It's the surrendering into, isn't it? The
Yeah.
softening. I love the way you're using the word softening because
Yeah.
that's what labor is. It's the softening of all those tissues, the softening of the cervix, softening of the perineum, and the softening into parenting, which is that ability to surrender into what is the
Yeah.
isness of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say to a pregnant woman? What advice would you give?
Do your course.
Oh, thanks, Don. Thanks for the plug. You've been
Yeah.
giving me a lovely big plug in this episode.
I absolutely
Thank
mean
you.
it though. Like both Chris and I,
Mm.
if any of our friends fall pregnant now, we're like, recommend going and doing this course. And a couple of them have, which has been good. Um, but yeah, I think I would just say, um, like enjoy the time. Like, um, really use it as a time to connect with yourself and your body,
Mm.
and quieten down. Like if you honor your feelings as well. Like if you're tired and you're someone that goes all the time, rest. Just because
Mm.
you are someone that goes all the time, it's your time, I think, to really honor and listen to what your body needs. And yeah, I know a lot of women, especially like if they're still at work and things like that, they might feel bad or guilty for wanting to take time off earlier,
Yeah.
if their body's telling them they need things like that. They might feel obligation to not do that, if that makes sense. But I think just listening to what you need and honoring and following through on that is really important. And then, yeah, just um, trusting yourself as well and listening to your partner. Like, because I think men sometimes, when you're pregnant, you can be like, I was a bit emotional at times.
Mm.
And I can sort of sometimes.
No way. Not in pregnancy. Surely not.
Yeah. I think I learned through that time to really listen to my partner Chris as well. Like,
Mm.
because men, I think naturally, like women, we have logic as well, but I think men are more driven logically and we can be more emotional, just like men are emotional as well. But I
Mm.
feel like they're a bit more logical in their natural way of being, and we're a bit more emotional, even
Yeah.
though we both have two.
Yeah.
Um, but I learned through that time to listen to him, especially in the birth as well. Like I really trusted him, and he was my person there to support me. So I just listened to him. But yeah, I think, yeah, just listen to your body, honor it, like enjoy the time connecting with your baby while it's inside.
Mm.
Um, because yeah, you don't get those moments back, and they're just really nice times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Ah, wonderful. It's
Yeah.
lovely to hear the story, particularly of an induction as well, because some people think, that's the worst thing in the world. But you obviously, you worked with your anxiety, you got your mindset in a positive state, you harnessed your mindset and directed it towards what you wanted. You
Yeah.
went into the induction with a powerful mindset by accepting and welcoming everything that was coming into your body.
Yeah.
You surrendered to the process of the birth experience, whatever those sensations were. And in your case, they were painless.
Yeah.
And then you also tapped into a deeper wisdom and intuition that gave you some really important information when you got a sense that little Luke was struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
But also then translating that into your parenting. There's a great wisdom to the system of birth. And I think if we can really learn to trust our bodies and our ability to manage whatever unfolds, to get your head in the game, to do the preparation, I really believe the meditations really move the needle when it comes to birth. They really help you to downregulate your stress response.
Oh, phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, and to brainwash you into believing in yourself.
Yeah.
That when we utilize those tools, whilst we can't control birth, we can definitely influence it.
Mm.
For the most part, there are some times in birth we just can't even do that, but for the most part, we can.
Mm.
And that's what we've got to really do in order to harness the superpower that we have inside of us. So I want to thank Ebony for her beautiful, inspiring story, particularly of inductions. People need to hear this because a lot of them end up with them. And your story of welcoming little Luke and your beautiful partner Chris, who was an absolute legend. So well done, Chris. he he earned a lot of brownie points that week, I tell you. I'm sure they lasted him a whole 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully this story has inspired you to really start to work with what you have within you, that deep inner wisdom, that deep intuition that is part of our systems and there to guide us through these precious times. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks, Ebony.
My pleasure. Thank you.